you got, Nathan? What's the most rewarding process of navigating a health crisis with a client or their employee?
Man, I was actually thinking about this the other day. We just recently had open enrollment with a group. Year 2, CFO stood up in the middle of the meeting and just talked about how, their company's an ESOP, so all of their employees are owners. And so, any savings company-wide is a big deal, not just to the CFO, but to every employee, down to even the lady that answers the phones. And so it was cool to hear him stand up and talk about the savings that they've experienced through implementing some of the strategies. And at the end of the day, you really feel like you're helping somebody. And you're not just helping the company, you're helping their employees, you're helping the dependents and the family members that are on the plan. And really, that's what makes it easy to get up and come do this job, is when you hear things like that. So that was a really cool, and kudos to him to stand up and say that in front of us, in front of the company. But that was probably the most rewarding day I've had as an SBS employee, for sure.
Yeah, and I think about a year removed or a year ago with that same client, we're implementing some of the grant programs, and this is y'all's first rodeo at doing some of that stuff. And so I was helping with, the phone call to some of those employees about what that grant program was doing. And just thinking about, scheduling the call, we've got the employee, his wife, they've been navigating, this late stage cancer diagnosis for probably a year and a half now, and getting to tell them, you're going to have none of your healthcare costs, no deductibles, no copays, no out of pocket, no premium. Like, we're taking care of you and your whole family. And they just kept asking, like, what's the catch? What's the catch? What's the catch? Like, I know we're just now meeting, but like, think about the people who run this business and who they are and their hearts behind these programs. Why do you think they'd say yes to it? And, they finally agreed to apply to the program, and they're both in tears, not only because of what it's going to mean for their family, but they said, if ever he can't work or it gets to a point where he's, incapacitated, where how do we transition to whatever's next? And hearing that we would be walking through them with that, through that whole process was the moment. Like, she's crying on the phone. I'm having a daughter has really ruined me, because now I'm quick to have sweaty eyes, and it's just one of those things that you realize a year later it's $400,000 in claims, but it's 2 lives changed as well. And it's really easy in our world to think just about the dollars and just about the benefits. And it's easy to forget about the people sometimes, and just realizing that's a life-changing experience for them from a care perspective that we get to be a part of. So.
Yeah, I think we don't do a good enough job of that. There's a story behind all those decisions, right? Whether it's the decision maker that's making a decision with a specific employee in mind, or even the decision maker that's making a decision with his own child in mind. There's stories behind those decisions that really do have, they are life changing. And that's been that's really cool to see, for sure.
Yeah, as part of that, I think about one of our groups recently who implemented that same grant program, and they had a specific employee in mind that it was going to really, really help. And just so happened they were a January 1st group. We were moving them March 1st, implementing this for March 1st. And somebody had just been diagnosed with another life-changing, life-altering condition in February, and we had no idea. They submitted an application, they were approved, and it was like, holy cow, like we just helped twice as many people as what we thought. And so it's just been, like, again, thinking through the process of maybe it is just one person at the moment, but we never quite know who's going to be impacted downstream for some of the things we're doing.
Yeah, so I think I'll start off on, thinking about how I approach clients on a daily basis. We always say both the highs and the lows, right? I think our job is to be there for them in both. We want to celebrate their victories, but also I've always told my clients, like, I want to be the guy that can look you in the eye and tell you the bad news too. And I want to be able to celebrate with you, and I want to be by your side when you're dealing with the bad news. I think for me, it has given me a much more even keel approach in both of those scenarios, where we're trying to build rapport and build a relationship, and we're trying to help them, help their employees, help their business. But seeing the high and then seeing the lows, I think you've got to stay grounded, because it's real easy, I think, in this business to follow the numbers in both directions. A client has a bad year and you can take it personally. client has a great year, and you can want to pat yourself on the back. And the reality is that's not what we're here to do. We're here to help people, and that's kind of what I want to do. So,
yeah, I think the moments when I think about when I've been impacted the most by employees or members of plans that we serve has been the days where I'm the most frustrated with health insurance, whether it's a renewal that we're stuck with and we can't find a solution for a group, or it's, a client gets acquired and we just lost all that revenue. It's like, how are we going to replace that? And it's just like those moments of getting lost in the business usually immediately is followed by an issue that comes up for a person that I am moved deeply by, where at the end of the day, we truly are dealing with people's health, people's money, two of the most important things for them. And when I lose sight of that, it's often when a situation comes up that we have to go into, kind of rescue mode for a group. And that has made sure I stay present in the moment and don't have these pity parties about, losing clients or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So
talk about that for a moment, Josh. A lot of people think healthcare renewal is one conversation a year. And you can speak to this in our business. How often are you dealing with those fires or those issues where you're trying to help an employee with something?
Yeah, it's always something. It feels like it's, the dental ID card that didn't come in the mail. It's they didn't print it on good paper, so it keeps rubbing off and we can't find the policy number, the member number. It's like those silly things, I think, is when I get the most frustrated because it's such a simple blocking and tackling of health insurance, right? And renewal conversations that and leading up to where you're like, hey, this is what I think it's going to be, and then all of a sudden you get a curveball at the last minute, and a new diagnosis pops up, a new claim pops up. You're like, well, we were running really good until month 11, and now we're kind of figuring out what to do next. So I think it's again just part of this whole journey of being in health insurance now, going on my 8th, 9th year. The ebbs and flows of the year, the summer when we feel like nothing's happening, to all of a sudden we're in August, September, and everyone's talking about health insurance and everybody's talking about the renewal, and we're all scrambling with carriers and trying to figure out how do we get 80% of our clients renewed in 2-3 months. It doesn't feel as heavy as it used to because we're in the flow of it now. But it's also very much the seasonality of keeping in check my home life along with business life, and teaching my kids and my wife that, hey, this season of 3 to 4 months is going to be chaotic. Give me some grace too. And I think there's natural tendencies within industries like CPAs in March, April are in the same boat with tax season and some of those things. So just getting to the rhythm and routine of knowing what those seasons are that also impact our personal lives is a pretty big deal.
Yeah. I always tell people ask me how my job is and what I do on a daily basis. It's, in my experience, no 2 days have ever been the same. And while I've been doing it for a while now and have gained some experience, I still find every now and then I get an email from an employee and it's like, okay, all right, this is a new issue. Let me figure out how to solve this. But it is for me, that's kind of a breath of fresh air. I'm not doing the same thing every day. So,
what would you say is the biggest difference between teaching, coaching, administration in school districts to health insurance, helping employees, navigating with carriers?
Man, I've often thought that I'll start with what's the same. It's still education, right? You're still trying to make sure people are clear on what they have access to, what they have purchased, how to use it, how to best be the best consumer of it for them, their family, even from an administrator, or from a decision maker for their company. This is what we're actually buying for our employees. Is this worth it? What are the benefits of it? I think the biggest difference is realizing that there's just so much of this industry that is stuck in the way it's always been done. And honestly, I think there's been a lot of strides in the education world over the past 10 to 15 years. A lot of that due to technology and COVID, but in the healthcare industry, there's a lot of, well, I've always done this, so I'm always going to do it. And the reality is there's so many, and that's, my eyes have been open. When I first took this job, it was, here's my ID card and I'll pay my copay and move on, and realizing there are some other strategies, primary care and standalone grant programs and prescription scholarship programs, things that people just aren't aware of and honestly don't even take the time to look at because they've never seen it, they've never done it. It sounds too good to be true, right? And the frustrating part is, in the teaching world, you expect that from a 16, 17-year-old. You expect them to be like, oh, that guy to know what he's talking about, But as an adult, I would like to think if somebody's bringing me a solution, I might be willing to entertain it. But I do think there's a I've always done it this way, and I'm going to keep doing it this way, So.
Yeah, you think about as an administrator, I would imagine your most frustrating teachers to deal with were the ones who are 20-year vets who have always done it their way. They liked certain standards, the Common Core, whatever it was, right? They're like, well, if we change it, I don't care. I'm going to still do my book my way. When things have changed, right? And so I can see the parallels of that.
Well, and like there's some things that are still good, right? So that's the one of my former mentors used to say, you don't just like throw it all out and start from scratch, but you do take the things that work and the things that have changed, and I think that's the thing I've loved here, as I've gotten into the self-funded world and helping companies build a customized plan with different solutions that are bolted on and included. Like you really can take what's working and add in something that makes it better. You don't just have to take something off a shelf and take it as it is. You actually get some flexibility and some control, and that can lead to, like we talked about earlier, better benefits for your employees, a life-changing story, and oftentimes at a better cost, which is, kudos to you for figuring all that out and finding these things. I'm still not sure how you stumble upon some of these things on a regular basis.
Yeah, we'll just go with divine intervention. I mean, it's been crazy the network of people we've been introduced to, and credit the two guys who started SBS, John and Jimmy. I mean, it was a consistent theme for them that they had to say, we are not a big brand. We are not the big box agency. We have got to come up with something different and consistently seeking out ways. So that was just the culture when I came here. It was, we're going to find new ways to do health insurance that other people aren't doing so we can tell a different story. And it just so happened eventually when we started getting people to read that story that it was actually paying off for them. And then we built case studies, and then we built referral partners. And then it's just been a thing where, those same partners that introduced us originally, those solutions keep bringing new ones to the market. And I may not be the smartest guy in the room, so I just copy and paste what everybody else does, right? So it's been fun to see some of those things take off. The things that we were preaching and teaching back in when I was, had first started and really didn't know what I was doing, just hoping somebody would buy something from us, have started to pay off where we now have story after story after story of employee and family members and companies that have had success and care that they needed when they needed it. Second opinions on cancer treatments that ended up not even being cancer, and like just pushing for that where it was, in the traditional model, it's just been, we're going to start treatment they didn't actually need. And so, it's been fun to be a part of with some of these crazy things people keep coming up with. And I guess it's to your point, we're okay with not doing the same lesson plans over and over and over.
Yeah.
And let's try something new and keep it interesting. So.
Yeah, that's pretty good.